Homelander is no longer just playing God. He is building a religion around himself. And the scariest part is not that he believes it. The scariest part is that there are people around him willing to help him sell it. Episode 4 of The Boys Season 5 might have felt slower to some of you. But trust me, what happened in this episode is laying the groundwork for something massive. Every conversation, every look, every uncomfortable silence in this episode was placed there for a reason. Hey, what's up, everyone? Come back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now, in this episode, titled Though the Heavens Fall, we got some major character dynamics, hidden references, and setup that I think a lot of people may have overlooked. So in this video, we are going to go through all of it. The Easter eggs, the references, the deeper meaning behind key scenes, and the things that could be pointing toward how this season is going to end. So let's get into it. The episode opens right where the last one left us shaken. We're back inside Homelander's apartment, the same space where his entire God delusion reached a new level. And right away, there is a detail that I think is easy to miss, but says everything about where his mind is right now. There is a framed photo from that moment back in the Season 3 finale. You remember the scene.
Someone in the crowd threw a bottle. It was aimed at Homelander, but it hit Ryan instead. And Homelander responded by lasering that man's head clean off in front of everyone. What followed was not horror from the crowd, it was applause. That moment was a turning point. It was the first time Homelander fully dropped the mask in public and was rewarded for it. And the fact that he now has a framed photo from that exact day sitting in his apartment tells us something chilling. He does not just remember that moment, he treasures it. That was the day his real journey to this point began. And he knows it. From there, Homelander brings Firecracker into the picture. He knows exactly what she is good at. She can sell anything to the public. She can take complete nonsense and package it into something that millions of people will not only believe, but defend with everything they have. So naturally, she becomes his chosen voice, his prophet. The person responsible for spreading the message that Homelander is not just a hero, he is divine. And this is where the show starts drawing some very intentional real-world parallels. Homelander operates in a space where truth does not matter. The only thing that matters is what he decides the truth should be. And if enough people repeat it, it becomes real. Sound familiar? The show has always leaned into political commentary. And this season is not pulling back on that at all. Now, I know that aspect is not for everyone, but ignoring it would mean ignoring a huge part of what this show is actually trying to say. So we're going to acknowledge those parallels where they exist and keep moving. Now, what is really interesting about Firecracker in this episode is the contradiction inside her. On the surface, she is fully committed. She is ready to build this church, sell this message, and help turn Homelander into a deity. But there is a moment early on where her face tells a completely different story. For just a second, you can see it. She knows this is insane. She knows Homelander has lost his grip on reality. But she buries that thought and moves forward anyway. And later in the episode, when we hear what she really thinks through someone else's ability to read her mind, it becomes even more clear that her loyalty might not be as solid as she is pretending. And I think that matters a lot for what is coming. Because the title of this episode, Though the Heavens Fall, is rooted in a concept about justice being carried out no matter the cost. And if you apply that idea to Firecracker specifically, it raises a very compelling question. What happens when someone who helped build the lie decides to tear it down, even if it destroys? But the fact that the show is drawing that specific comparison feels very deliberate. There is also the Butcher side of that equation, because Butcher is not exactly a safe alternative right now either. His cancer, his aggression, his obsession with ending all soups no matter the cost, all of that makes him just as dangerous in his own way. So you could imagine a scenario where the final conflict is not just about stopping Homelander. It could also be about stopping Butcher from going too far. And Ryan could end up caught between two father figures who are both destroying themselves. Now, one small detail from that scene that I really appreciated is learning that Butcher used to show Ryan movies during their time together. We already knew they played games and spent time bonding, but hearing that they watched films together adds another layer to their relationship. It reminds us that Butcher, underneath all the rage and all the darkness, did genuinely try to be there for this kid, and that makes the current distance between them feel even more tragic. After Butcher steps out briefly, Ryan disappears, and we shift over to the rest of the team, where we start seeing the cracks forming everywhere. One member has visibly changed his appearance, going back to how he used to look in earlier seasons, which could signal a mental shift. We also catch a small moment of physical affection between two teammates that clearly does not sit well with someone else in the room. And that jealousy is a seed that grows into something much bigger by the end of the episode. Now, one of the most emotionally rich parts of this episode is Starlight visiting her father. Up until now, all we have really known about her dad is that he left when she was young. We learned back in Season 1 that he disagreed with her mother's decision to inject Annie with Compound V and could not keep lying about it. So he walked away. And look, even though he seems like a decent person in this episode, and even though he may have been right about everything regarding Vought and Compound V, the fact remains that he abandoned his daughter. Being right does not excuse leaving your child behind. That complexity is what makes the scene work so well. What we learn here adds another dimension to the episode's central theme. Annie's mother apparently framed the decision to give her V as something divine. She told Annie she was chosen by God, and Annie believed it. And eventually, her mother believed it too. That distortion of faith, using religion to justify something that was really about ambition. Now, one of the most emotionally rich parts of this episode is Starlight visiting her father. Up until now, all we have really known about her dad is that he left when she was young. We learned back in Season 1 that he disagreed with her mother's decision to inject Annie with Compound V and could not keep lying about it. So, he walked away. And look, even though he seems like a decent person in this episode, and even though he may have been right about everything regarding Vought and Compound V, the fact remains that he abandoned his daughter. Being right does not excuse leaving your child behind. That complexity is what makes the scene work so well. What we learn here adds another dimension to the episode's central theme. Annie's mother apparently framed the decision to give her V as something divine. She told Annie she was chosen by God, and Annie believed it. And eventually, her mother believed it too. That distortion of faith, using religion to justify something that was really about ambition and control, connects directly to what is happening at Vought Tower at this very moment with Homelander's God campaign. The show is drawing a clear line between personal manipulation and institutional manipulation, and both are rooted in the same tactic. Wrap a lie in something sacred, and people will protect it with their lives. Her brother's reaction when she visits is also significant. He has completely bought into the propaganda against Starlight. He repeats the same kind of vicious, baseless accusations that get circulated online about public figures. And the parallel here to how real-world disinformation campaigns operate is impossible to ignore. The show is making a very specific point about how media manipulation can turn families against each other. And when her brother calls the authorities on her, it mirrors a very specific scene from another franchise about people with abilities being hunted, where a younger sibling calls the police on his own brother because he has been conditioned to fear what he does not understand. Now, let us talk about Fort Harmony, because this is where the episode really starts to cook. The atmosphere at Fort Harmony is literally toxic. There is something in the air that
One of the more unexpected dynamics in this episode is between Homelander and Soldier Boy. Normally, Homelander is careful around his father. He's intimidated, he holds back. But inside Fort Harmony, that filter disappears. The hostility in the air gives Homelander the aggression to actually push back, and watching that shift in their dynamic is fascinating because it hints at what could happen when Homelander stops being afraid of his father altogether. Then we get this incredible scene where Soldier Boy locks Homelander inside a reinforced cell. Watching Homelander trapped, weakened, and unable to break free is one of the most satisfying and terrifying visuals of the season. Satisfying because we rarely see him powerless. Terrifying because of what it implies. If Homelander can be contained, then the endgame of this season might involve putting him in a cage permanently rather than killing him. And honestly, for a character with this level of ego, being locked away and forgotten might be a worse fate than death. While Homelander is trapped, Butcher finds him. And every single time these two are face to face, the energy is electric. Their hatred for each other runs so deep, but there is also this strange mutual understanding between them. They are both obsessed, they are both self-destructive, and neither one of them is willing to stop until the other is finished. The V1 situation also takes a major turn in this episode. The team discovers that the supply they were looking for at Fort Harmony has already been taken, which means the race for V1 just got a lot more complicated. Someone else has
Patriotism and faith into something that serves neither, honestly. That commentary has been building for seasons, and this episode pushes it further than ever. Over on the side characters, the situation with Deep is both darkly funny and deeply telling. He is now eating the very creatures he once claimed to protect and communicate with. That is not just a joke. It is a complete surrender of identity. Whatever principles he once had, however small, are gone. He has fully absorbed the Homelander mindset. If he is god of the sea, then the creatures beneath him exist to serve him. Their lives are a gift to him, not something he owes protection to. And that mirrors Homelander's exact worldview about humanity. Now, there is also a significant detail about the relationship dynamics among the main cast. As the team returns from Fort Harmony, we see something interesting. The couple that has been together the longest seems to be weathering the storm better than the newer relationship. The more established bond has history, trust, and enough foundation to absorb some damage. But the newer relationship is hitting that phase where
There is also a former team member mentioned in connection with V1 and some troubling history involving substance abuse. That detail might seem small, but it could become very relevant depending on where the V1 trail leads. Now, back at Vought Tower, the scenes involving the campaign to sell Homelander as God are some of the most uncomfortable and fascinating of the episode. There is an actual strategy meeting happening where people are debating how to position Homelander within religious mythology. Should he be presented as a prophet first and then revealed as God? Should they build on existing religious frameworks or replace them entirely? The casual corporate way these decisions are being discussed is deeply unsettling, and I think that is the point. There was also a map shown during this meeting that highlights which regions of the country would be most receptive to accepting Homelander as a divine figure. And those regions align perfectly with areas known for strong evangelical and conservative Christian populations. The show is being very direct about the demographic it is commenting on. One moment that stood out to me is when Firecracker drops the act for just a second and acknowledges that the original teachings of Christianity, the real core messages about compassion, humility, and welcoming others, do not align with what she has been selling. She knows the version of faith she promotes is manufactured. It is designed to serve power, not truth. And the fact that she openly admits this, even briefly, makes her one of the most fascinating characters in this episode. The show then connects this to a much bigger idea about how religion and national identity have been fused together in ways that distort both. It is drawing a direct line between what Vought is doing in the show and what has been happening in real-world political and religious spaces. The merging of faith with war is what creates the culture we see today. The other theme I want to touch on is relationships. The show is really invested in